Yeah. Hey, hit records on my demo. Did y'all boys not get the memo?
Welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. A little less jaded, I think, after our Saturday show. Great, huge numbers. I'm giving the gold star of participants to Mac. I think he definitely unloaded and showed the most emotion post-game. A lot of disappointment. By a lot of people and a lot of good talking points. And we can still revisit that tonight as far as Notre Dame is 1-1. And the problem and the concern is the quarterback room. But we can't dwell too much on the past. We will not, but will be open to debate, to discuss if we so wish, considering that there's another debate going on in our nation right now. So that's going on, but we're podcasting while that's going on. So, because, hey, this is the time we do it. It's Tuesday. All right. We picked Tuesday night slated for this show before ABC, picked this presidential debate. So we were first. So this is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, Volume 128, Season 5, Episode 9. And I am joined by my co-host,
Red Snapper, 1998, West Coast Irish.
Are you disappointed?
I went to bed early on Saturday because I was in such a foul mood. So.
Like, fuck this. I'm just going to bed.
Yeah, I had a crazy week. It was basically the rotten cherry on top of the shit Sunday that I had.
Yeah.
So I just went to bed and woke up early and went to mass.
That's nice. I didn't get up early to mass. I went to the evening mass, the youth mass, as they say. But and we'll get Red Snapper your takes of the game and takes of where the program and the team is right now. But yes, we are playing at Purdue. At Rossade, and I will be present there. And then I think I saw in the forecast there was some rain, so I'm just like halfway between like, oh dear God, like we're playing Purdue, like I'm already unnecessarily anxious for this game, given what happened last week, and then it might potentially rain. I work with a bunch of Purdue people, right? So it's just there's a lot of angst right now that I'm feeling. When I just look at our problems as a program, particularly the passing game, and because it does matter, and it clearly mattered last week, we've got some problems. So that's where we're at. Oh, did I say it was episode 9? No, this is episode 10. I was on the wrong page. So this is episode 10. Excuse me. Before we get into, I have two stat pieces really to get into, but I kind of want to get everyone's opinion where everybody is now before I get into some of my disappointments from yesterday morning. Let's go with Red Snapper first.
Nah, I honestly, I listened to the show from Saturday, the reaction show, and I think it pretty much encapsulates everything how I feel. If I get into it, I'm going to turn back into a raging ball of fire, and
right.
I really don't want to.
We sprinkled in some Boise State fun in there when Jimmy jumped on. Sadly, my Broncos lost too, but
yeah, no, for me it was just a complete and utter disappointment, letdown. I thought these should win games, worrying us as fans, were behind us, and clearly they're not. So again, the spotlight that should have been completely put in storage is now back on Marcus Freeman and everybody else. And let's hope it's a one-time mistake, but
yeah.
I think a lot of people hinge it on the quarterback room. And I've my approach was, and I've always said this, is you have guys that have been sitting in the program. They know the scheme. Yes, it's a new offensive coordinator, but they
Right.
know the expectations that are Notre Dame. You add the fact that he didn't have spring practice.
Yep.
He is a portal transfer, so it's new environment, new everything. The pressures of being at Notre Dame. You add all of that with his injuries. I didn't think
current injury.
I don't think Riley Leonard should have been QB1. I never considered him QB1.
Yeah.
I go back to, I forget what episode it was. I still want Angeli. I thought Angeli should have been QB1 from the go.
Yep.
And unless Angeli absolutely shit the bed, then okay, you go from there. But I would still even give it to Minchie before I give it to Riley Leonard. I think the process of finding a quarterback in the portal needs to die.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Yeah, that was a few episodes ago, 6 episodes ago. Should Riley Leonard be QB1 from August 13th? So, and then I think in the off season, in the spring, I know we had conversations with Adam Dowling and a few other people where many people were assuming he's going to be great because of his athleticism. And don't get me wrong, he certainly is he does have skill sets in good places, but is he executing on the skills and the performance on the field, now where we need him? I would say the answer is no.
Let me put it this way. I would rather have Tim Tebow behind center than Riley Leonard right now.
Well, at least Tim Tebow would be like, firing the guys up and actually kind of being like a captain. He doesn't look like, kind of a lost dog out there, like, and I was just kind of tooling around online and I saw it was from, I think it was the first quarter, how there were like Greathouse was wide open on a crossing route. The pass was low and behind him, so it was very, very difficult for Greathouse to adjust in full stride. But I look at that. Greathouse had a lead blocker already down on the sideline, so there's very potential. It clearly was going to be a big play. It could have been a touchdown if he had connected with Greathouse properly. And it's those kind of missed opportunities that suck the life out of your opponent, give you, the quarterback, some confidence and stuff. And he doesn't get it. And then, he doesn't really have much to show for the rest of the game either. So, and one play doesn't make a season. One play doesn't make a game even. It can. But I think there was too many other mistakes along the way that contributed to the body of lack of execution. So
agreed. And I think the majority of it falls on the fact he just doesn't have the time. He doesn't have the cohesion with his receiving core.
Yeah.
Anybody who's played a receiver knows that timing with your quarterback, understanding, pace of the ball when it's coming, depending on the route. If you're running a crossing route as a receiver, you naturally check yourself up as you make your cut to cross because you're expecting a certain velocity. And if you don't know what velocity is coming, you really check yourself up.
Right.
If you make that break knowing that ball's coming, like Scott Lukash used to throw a bullet.
Yeah.
You knew you had to be on your horse. You hit that cut and you didn't slow down at all. You cut it because he was going to lead you.
You knew it was
and you knew
happen.
that.
Yeah. Could that be one of Notre Dame's problems of the last few years, that we've had this revolving door of quarterbacks and the receivers, they've changed as well, but they don't seem to be as chaotically changing. I mean, most of the guys other than, Bo Collins and maybe some of the younger guys are still there. Is it possible that that's what's throwing this off? It's not so much the scheme. It's not so much the individual quarterback. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but it's you just don't have enough reps with these guys.
To throw the example out there, and yes, it's an over dramatization, but I want my receivers crying like T.O. saying that's my quarterback.
Yeah.
The problem is you don't have any receivers building rapport with a quarterback because it's one and done and next guy up. And, can we have a quarterback that's there that builds rapport and can actually go season to season with receivers and build the rapport so that these guys in the offseason are getting together and practicing and they're doing things that they need to do to continue to build those relationships. You think of any major passing threat, whether it's college or pro, you think of the quarterback and the receiver, and the 9 times out of 10, it's because they have time together. They were sitting on the bench together. They earned their starting positions together, and they now are the absolute stars on that team together.
That's right. They've kind of gone through either from the practice squad or second team or whatever, and then eventually they all work together. Right. Yeah, no, that and let me ask the question. It's kind of the obvious answer, but I'll ask the question anyway. Who of these quarterbacks is the most likely candidate to check that box?
Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time.
Steve Angeli.
Peanut butter jelly time.
Like maybe Minchie from a little bit from last year, right? But Carr is new, but I mean, Carr at least played in the spring game. Riley Leonard didn't, now maybe he was throwing the ball a little bit, but there's a little bit difference when he's just standing there and heaving it, when he's in a walking boot versus, actually dropping back, at 100% speed, right? Those are...
And you still saw Carr's arm on the move at the spring game, which still gives me more evidence than I have from Riley Leonard why he's QB1. I'm sorry, if I had set the roster, it would have been Angeli number 1, Minchie number 2, Carr number 3, and until Riley is healthy and can prove it, he's not in my depth chart.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah.
I think going and getting him out of the portal is an absolute waste of a scholarship spot.
That's what I said. I mean, I think we left the show, and then we'll move on. We don't want to keep just digging this. I mean, if people want to talk about it, we can. But that was my conclusion, a couple weeks ago from our Riley Leonard show is why did we give him a scholarship? I didn't see that it was necessary. I would have rather given it to like a D lineman, an O lineman, maybe. Grant, you need some cohesion there too with that unit, but or a receiver, something else, or just whatever, I just didn't. I feel like I haven't seen anything yet over these last 2 games that convinced me, oh yeah, he should remain QB1. Now, that we may all be wrong, and that may change on Saturday. But if I'm an evidence-based person, that's just like a hope and a prayer right there, not so much, based off of past experience. And look, we don't see what happens in practice. I get that. And that's going to lead me into my next piece here. But, at some point, you have to put practice aside and say, well, what's actually happening during the game?
Practice is not a game. Practice is not a game. There's some guys
it's
that
not.
Can get up for practice, and there's some guys that just absolutely wet the bed when it comes to the game time. The pressure gets to him.
I'm sure Dane Chris looked great in practice, but eventually he peed down his leg.
I was waiting for you to bring that name up.
Well, sure, and we'll talk a little bit about that later in stat piece number 2. But no, it's this is a crappy, sucky place to be. So let's see here. Who should we go? I think William was on first, and then Coach Parsegian. So we'll go to William A. Frazier here. We can talk about Purdue. We can talk about Riley Leonard and Jelly. We can talk about defensive stats. Whatever floats your boat, William. You've been invited to speak. Come on.
Hey, how's it going?
Yo,
can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, man. Coming in strong.
Real quick. I don't really want to get into the breakdown of last Saturday's game. I listened to the podcast, the after game, and a lot of good points, but a lot of people getting hung up on the stadium was driving me kind of batty. And as far as Jesus being able to see into the stadium is such a myth. And
Oh, you didn't
whatever,
like
but
you didn't like my
it's not
suggested
you.
alteration.
It's not just you. It's not just you, but it's being propagated, and it's just like, come on, guys, you
That's
got to
good.
look at
That's
the
because
overall.
people listen to me. Oh no,
Fair.
that's
Okay, fair
arrogant. But
play.
that's arrogant. I
Fair.
know. Okay, I'm done.
But I think the bigger issue here is that our coaching staff is not recognizing that they have an issue with a player that is hurt, who came to them hurt. They recruited him hurt, is playing hurt, and they're
Yes.
not doing anything about it.
Yeah, he is currently
That
hurt.
I will not. I can excuse a player for not doing his best if they're hurt, and clearly, this kid's hurt, and maybe that's. I mean, if nobody saw what happened during the Texas A&M game when he got his hand hurt, he held it, and then his accuracy went to shit to that. And I even brought it up to you then. I was like, hey man, is this accuracy? Is this an accuracy problem? Is this something we ought? Well, clearly it's an accuracy problem because he's hurt. And let's say he's not hurt. Let's say this is all just him just not being the full potential we thought he was going to be, right? Well, it's the coaching staff's responsibility to analyze, look at it and say, hey, let's take a step back. I guarantee you the former coach here that we will not mention would have pulled him out, put in the next person, and evaluated it from there. He did
Agreed.
it several times over his career.
Agreed.
Notre Dame. So I just, it's frustrating to see these excuses being pulled out for Riley from different factions. And it's just like, wait a minute. We need to really focus on the people that have been constantly making mistakes over the last 3 years that have cost this game. 10 minutes on the field, game management,
Yeah,
without not evaluating the players correctly. I mean, I hate this. Hey man, when Marcus got hired, I was really excited. But things are starting to add up now, and it's just coming to the point where we have to really take a hard look in the mirror and say, hey, what is the best for this team, this university? Not. I mean, just to get to the place where we're competitive, not worrying about the big letdown every time we come up on big time, because it seems like he does well against the big time teams, but then we come home, we get blown out by Marshall in Northern Illinois. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know where you stand on that, but it's just unacceptable. Showing my face here on Monday was a hard thing here in work. It was like, man, you want to talk about getting ragged. Jesus Christ, man.
Hey, warning,
ACC
warning,
fans down
warning. Hey, I'm cool with
sorry.
cussing. No breaking
Sorry.
commandments.
Sorry.
Don't go kill anyone either. All right. Yeah, warning.
No. So I'm just saying that I don't have the answers, but I do think that coaching staff's got to step up, man. And furthermore, I don't feel good about the rest of the schedule now because
Well,
like I
sure.
said,
We're a little anxious. Like, why can't we?
right. I mean, like now we got to think about even though they're coming to us, Louisville. I said it 2 weeks ago. I said, Louisville's not going to be a joke.
Yeah.
How you? I mean, it's not. They didn't lose a lot of people, from what I understand. So, I think we'll be lucky to come out with an 8-4 record at this point.
Yeah, that is kind of the concern I think that people have, and I think that's very typical of Notre Dame fans, or even just college football fans in general. Start doing mental math about predicting future games. Like I do my best to avoid that. I can look at, the closest I will do is just go to teamrankings.com and say, well, what are the the people that do this for a living, what are they predicting? They are teamrankings.com is saying now the statistical most likely outcome for Notre Dame this season was 9-3. Going into the the game last week prior to the Northern Illinois game, it was 11-1. Okay, so it's dropped, two pieces there. So according to them, they're saying we're going to get two more losses, right? And statistically, they're saying that's USC and Louisville, right?
Right.
Now, what's interesting, and I was trying to find the specific medical location of what is wrong with Riley Leonard, but he is expected to play still. And that he has injured his non-throwing shoulder. So he had an MRI and whatnot, so it's a tissue basically within your shoulder socket that connects all the ligaments and all that together. Okay. So that's a concern, because he's going to be playing, so I mean, it's not his throwing arm. But he's still going to be in pain. He's still going to be kind of, battling an injury that he has. Now, we were kind of making some crass remarks, and I do want to set the record straight. I don't want anyone to misinterpret what I said on the show on Saturday. I am not advocating for him to be injured or hoping he is injured, right? There's a small part of me that says that would be a good reason to sit him so he can heal. And then if that is the quote-unquote excuse the coaches need, well, he's a little shaken up, let's put someone else in, and if they can play nice guy, why they would need to do that, I don't know. But point being, he has a shoulder injury on his non-throwing shoulder. So more to come from that. Now I listened to the press conference of Marcus Freeman yesterday, and with the slight hope that after weekend meetings and coaches discussions, reviewing film, etc., they would have said, you know what, I was wondering if he was going to come out and say, okay, we're going to bench Riley, or we're going to start Steve, or or even just have the conversation of who is going to be the quarterback. Like say it's going to be an open competition this week, whoever, shines and is the best in practice, whatever, like something. Okay. And nothing was like that
Clearly it's not.
It's not. And so a lot of the talk by Coach Freeman, was, about they need to prepare better for practice, or we need to, maybe there's some bad habits because he's wearing a red jersey and so he's not at 100%, like with contact and all that kind of stuff, and to me, these were just kind of like, did you even watch the film? Like, why are you saying this? Like, yeah,
because the film I saw, not to interrupt, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
The film I saw is like Riley seems unsure of himself to step up into the pocket. He seems unsure of himself to checking off receivers. He's almost telegraphing his passes.
Ooh, staring down. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, staring down passes. And, when you're thrown into double, triple coverage and underthrowing it, you get what you get, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I can count like 2 or 3 plays where there were at least 2 people open. A Bo was wide open out on the flat by 10 yards, and he could have gotten it and decided, nope, I ain't going to go that. And to me, that's the best receiver we got. That's just my opinion, is Bo Collins. The man fights for the freaking ball. He's the only one who's going up there and doing it. He's putting his body on the line. And that I give him a lot of props. But I'm not going to critique the offensive line too hard because we know what we're going to get, right? We're kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, I mean
that's
seems...
a repercussion of Brian Kelly. So,
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, like Freeman's been in the system now. This is his 3rd year, so like going into our 3rd year with Kelly, we weren't necessarily still blaming Weiss. So I do kind of want to move beyond. I mean, it's kind of funny. There's presidential debate tonight, and it's the the typical blaming the previous, administration for your current problems. Like I'm trying to avoid those kind of wide sweeping claims now in year 3. Maybe last year, we still could have made that, because we're still building something here. But now that this is year 3, and I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to move beyond that personally. If other people want to have that opinion, they certainly can. But for me, that's what I'm going to try to avoid. But yeah, I was disappointed in the press conference. He's talking about practice and preparing better, and some of this other stuff that I and there is some objective conversation about Purdue and the weapons they have, and where they can give Notre Dame problems. And we'll talk a little bit about just how they are doing better in the passing game than Notre Dame by leaps and bounds. So,
right.
Grant, they played one game, and that was against Indiana State. So, like, okay, fine. It's one game.
I am going to stay hopeful and everything. Just that the big letdown after Texas A&M. I was like, man, there's no way we're going to mess this up. There's no way. Sure enough. And I just think that all the coaches have to take a hard look and say, hey, man, why are we getting beat up front? Why did we let these guys just come out of nowhere and just manhandle us the way they did?
Yeah.
How did we not prepare
This is
that?
a coach's loss. This is a coach's loss. This is not a player loss.
Oh, I totally agree. Hey, man, I totally agree. This was a coach's loss. They did not prepare correctly on a team they should have just mopped the floor with.
Yeah,
And
on talent alone.
They didn't even make any adjustments at halftime. Did you see any adjustments after halftime?
I mean, we did stop them on their first drive. We did score on our first drive. But then after that, it was like, well, okay. So I don't know.
I don't know.
It is disappointing, but no, I think you're on the right track there with your thoughts. Any other? What do you think of Purdue?
I don't know enough about them. Give an opinion about it. I've heard that they're like 99th in passing offense. So I mean that's going to be a big help. But from what I understand, Northern Illinois wasn't that great until they showed up at Notre Dame.
I mean,
I was like,
Northern Illinois was at the time one game in. Grant, they played Western Illinois. They were ranked 10th. I'll give a little preview here. Passing yards, at least.
Can you got any breakdown on Purdue? Are you going to
Yes.
get into that tonight?
Yes, we will
Okay,
get
well,
a little bit. Just kind of in the areas that are going to be painful in Notre Dame. I'm going to poke at them.
Because to be honest, that's what I was hoping to tune in to hear from you, kind of a breakdown, see what Purdue had to say.
Yeah.
But,
I'm
going to jump off on the mic here and let somebody else speak. But
no worries.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right, have a good one, William. Really appreciate you jumping back on the podcast. Thank you so much, Coach Barsegian. You there? We'll invite you to speak next. Hello. We got Red Snapper on quiet here. Coach Barsegian.
Yes. What's up?
Welcome back, man. Do you want to still talk about Riley Leonard and the coaches being ignorant or stubborn or whatever, or should we just talk about Purdue?
Well, there's not a whole heck of a lot I can add from Saturday night other than coaching-wise, I think we're starting to realize we're getting what we asked for with Freeman.
Is doubt creeping in that he is going to be successful at Notre Dame? Is that where you're going? I mean, let's just cut to the side.
I think, and this is just my opinion based off the way it's gone so far, I think he will be successful somewhere, but it won't be Notre Dame.
Interesting. Okay.
I think we are learning from jumping on the bandwagon of a player's coach who may love his players but doesn't know how to be a head coach yet.
Yeah, I've done some thinking over the weekend, and there is something that's always nagged me about Coach Freeman, and I'm not going to bring that up now. I want to keep that on the reserve, and locked up because I don't think it needs to come out right now. But no, I mean, we saw a lot of that, on social media. People are literally calling for him to go. And that's putting it lightly. That became a topic among our Dos Leprechauns team. Not so much that we wanted him to go, but how there was a lot of trash talking and whatnot through our channels that like objective, unhappy discussions are fine, but people resorting to name calling and nonsense like that was hey, I'm not the leader of the crews here, so there was some gauntlet dropping going on.
Well, it's one thing because I saw some of this. It's one thing to be a defensive-minded coach and not an offense not be your specialty, and you not know very much about it, and still dictate what goes on with the offense. Now, Nick Saban is a perfect example of that. Nick Saban is a defensive-minded coach. And while he had guys like Lane Kiffin, brilliant offensive-minded coaches, Saban still had a say in what the offense did.
Right.
And we saw it play out in the biggest of games. So, I mean, I don't necessarily fault Freeman for that, but it's just he's the only thing why a lot of the criticism about him trying to be involved in the offense that much is because he still doesn't know how to be a head coach. Certainly not on the scale that is Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's interesting is from and this was a little nauseating with Brian Kelly of the quote unquote relationship of head coach to quarterback, right? And with Freeman, it's been impossible for that to be consistent. From Buckner and Pine, his first game had Jack Cohn, in the bowl game, and then you had Hartman last year, and then now we got Riley Leonard. I guess there's Steve Angeli, who's kind of always being the wing back there. If there's all right, what are we microwaving? We got burritos here.
No, I'm about to tater tots, brother.
You're microwaving tater tots?
No, I'm putting them in the oven.
Oh, okay. Man, you sound like a microwave. Okay.
No,
sorry.
oven
I'm hearing all this kitchen racket, and I'm like, it's good racket. Don't get me wrong. I'm getting hungry, but
it's late night podcast time. It's time to eat, man.
Hey, at least it's not Cheerios this time.
No, I'm actually eating real food this time.
It's usually like a
Tater
bag
tot.
of popcorn. Yeah. We're upgrading. This one actually is a vegetable, technically.
A root.
I'm pretty sure,
anyway,
I feel like we should. Good God, I'm gonna mute you with your. God, just look at the clock. Mute yourself. All right, I'm totally thrown off from that.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, had to set the timer. Look.
Well, we know.
All that I'll say left about Riley Leonard, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn with it.
You can.
But I'm just saying, you've had me on enough to know that I have won since he came to Notre Dame. It's just this is why we've all been so critical. This is why. You've got a young coach with 2 years of head coaching experience trying to bring in a guy, and he hears and sees all the criticism of develop a quarterback. It's been there since he was under Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Develop a quarterback.
Yeah.
Develop a quarterback. You've got a guy that shined in the bowl game. I don't care if it was
The Sun Bowl, yeah.
Frosted Flakes, Sun Bowl. Who cares?
Yeah.
Or we've said it on here. Oregon State still had a phenomenal defense.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And he blew them out of the water. And you've still got guys like that. A lot of Notre Dame fans were divided on with Minchie.
Yeah.
You've got 3 potential guys that are leaps and bounds. I'm willing to say, even as freshmen and inexperienced sophomores, better than Riley Leonard, and they're healthy. They're not hurt. They're not, as Denbrock said today in his presser, runners.
Yeah.
They can actually throw the ball. You've got Jeremiah Love. Why do you need a quarterback that can run?
Thank you.
We don't have a scoring offense through the air at all right now.
Yeah, right now.
We're averaging a touchdown every other quarter. That is horrendous.
A balanced offense is that you're a threat to pass as equally as you are a threat to run.
Yeah, that's what good teams do.
If you run the ball all the time and it's just changing out the personnel that's running the ball, whether it's the quarterback or a running back room, committee, you're still running the ball.
Yeah.
You open up a defense to run the ball by passing.
Yeah,
and when you have a quarterback that has rapport, and that's the biggest thing is there's no rapport. Minchie, who has seen limited time, has more rapport with all of those receivers than Riley Leonard does.
Yeah.
Carr has more rapport with those receivers because he was healthy through fall and spring practice.
And an early enrollee too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and back to what Coach is saying. Why? Let's put some numbers behind his opinion about Angeli in the Sun Bowl game. He threw 3 passing touchdowns on only 19 attempts. He's throwing a touchdown every 6.3 passes. Now, what's funny about that is we had 5 touchdowns total by the offense. 3 of them were passing, 2 rushing. We rushed the ball, actually, from a play selection standpoint, 71% of the time. So despite the fact that he's doing less than 30% of the plays that are being called for pass, he shined in that 30% and killed it. And so, like the efficiency of Angeli in that game against a decent opponent, who's I'm trying to pull up their pass defense here. I mean, it wasn't stellar by Oregon State throughout the season, right? They were 82nd in the country. Okay. But in sacks per game, they were 3rd, So, 10th in the country. They averaged 3 per game. So, and they're I don't know, just and tackles for loss, they were decent. They were definitely better than Notre Dame. But all I'm saying is what to give some weight and evidence to Coach's opinion. It's that, okay. Plus, I mean, look at all those guys he threw passes to, like Faison, Greathouse. They're there. They're still on the team.
And that's how you know a quarterback has rapport with his receiver core, is because he's throwing to multiple people. There are multiple receivers who have multiple catches. So as a defense, you have to respect everybody who's in that receiving core.
Yeah.
And this is what else blows my mind. And I saw this, and I watched it happen Saturday, and it was my first thought, but I never said anything about it. I saw the highlight of it today when he get the initial, what everybody believes is the injury, where he got kind of spun around and he just heaved the ball to the sideline. No receiver within 30 yards of him.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
You're a senior. Yes, but it's because it was backwards.
Mm.
You're a senior, overrated $2 million because it's like $900,000 more than what he's worth. But you're a senior, $2 million transfer portal quarterback. why are you making such an idiotic decision? Any sophomore, junior that's established in a program is told take the sack.
Yeah.
Why are you risking that? Risking a turnover with a backwards pass. This is QB1? That kind of decision maker is your QB1? There's no way.
It's perplexing.
This is why, and I agree with William. This is coaching keeping him in. There is some reason why they are continuing to push this, and I don't think if it's just because
it's money, man. It's got to be the money.
Has to be, because I don't care if you're a better practice quarterback than Angeli, Minchie, and Carr. It's already been said. I'm pretty sure Red Snapper said it. It doesn't matter how good you practice. When it seems like every time Leonard gets into the game, he's like a deer in headlights. He looks scared. He looks lost. He looks confused. He doesn't know what to do. Partially because you're at Notre Dame. It's like, not to bring up baseball again, but it's like being at Yankee Stadium. It is like being at Yankee Stadium where the lights are brightest. You're on the biggest stage in college football, at the mecca of college football. You're not at Duke anymore.
Yeah. Well, and he's about to go,
baby.
He's about to go step into Ross-Ade Stadium, a place that absolutely hates Notre Dame. Now, we've got the winning end of history on our side, right? You want to have some fun. Go YouTube Ray Zeller destroys Purdue, okay?
Phenomenal video.
So great. It's so awesome. But anyway, go have some fun there, Yeah. Coach, I'm gonna jump into my quick stat piece here, and then I do want to hear Jason's opinion here, because I assume he was at the game, so he can give us another and he's changed his handle from Irish JTL to Poverty Program Fan. So I'm not sure. I'm reading into his recent change. And then of course the Chief of Staff has joined us here. We'll make sure she gets her thoughts, or if she has a tight schedule because she's setting up other things for us as Chief of Staff. By all means, put your hand up and we'll jump to the Chief of Staff, because I'd be an idiot if I didn't listen to my Chief of Staff. All right, stat piece 1 of 2 tonight. We're looking specifically at passing stats. Yes, I know. Go grab a glass. Okay, it's bad. It's bad. Okay, it's really bad. We have 0 passing touchdowns. In case anyone didn't know that, we don't have any. Okay, we are tied with last with 4 other teams actually. So we're sharing in the misery with Miami of Ohio, who at least is on the schedule this year. Can I say that? I don't. Maybe there'll be a lot of rushing, which I'm actually okay with, But, okay, jokes aside, Northwestern also has 0 passing touchdowns, Western Michigan, and the Air Force Academy. Okay, so Northwestern was a little surprising.
Which tells you that Navy not being on that list.
Navy is not on this list.
That hurts. That hurts.
I didn't look up to see. I thought, I was like, where is Navy? I could do this real quick here. Let's see here. Passing, offense, touchdowns. We'll rank it that way. Control F. Navy. Oh God. Guess. All right. Red Snapper, how many do you got? How many does Navy have?
2.
Okay. Anyone else want to guess? How many passing touchdowns does Navy have? Don't look it up. Don't cheat. This is fun. Coach Verstegen, William, Dr. Abby. If no one says anything, I'm just
4.
4. William. Maybe he didn't hear the question. How many passing touchdowns has Navy thrown so far this year?
1.
1. Okay. It is 4. They have 4 passing touchdowns.
What the hell?
What the hell, indeed. In fact, Purdue also has 4 passing touchdowns. So from a statistics standpoint, Purdue is tied with 41. However, let me look at it a different way. Purdue, how many games have they played? 1. Granted, it was Indiana State, the Sycamores, but the same college that Larry Bird went to, although he didn't play football. I don't even know if they had a football team back in the day. Anyway, Purdue has 1. one game under their belt, 4 passing touchdowns in said game. So if I did a ratio of touchdowns per game, they are tied with the top 3 teams in the country that have 8 total after 2 games. So 8 divided by 2, right? Syracuse, LSU, and Utah. They are tied with touchdowns per game with those 3 teams. So they are ranked number 1 if we look at it that way. So not good. I will move on. Completion percentage. Surprisingly, our best stat of all of the 4 I'm going to visit tonight. Start positive. Yay. We went from really bad to our best. Our best. Notre Dame is 83rd ranked in the country with a 60.3% completion percentage. Hooray. Now, unfortunately, Purdue is ranked number 1. Purdue is threw the ball in their one game, 85.7%. And so it's a good thing we have a good defensive secondary. So please, Watts. So that may be our saving grace is the defense, right? This is like 2012. Okay, please defense, help us out. Let's see here. Third down percentage. It's not good. It's not the worst, but it's pretty bad. Our third down conversion, we are converting on third down 23.8% of the time. We are ranked 129th in the country. There are 5 teams worse than us: Florida Atlantic, Houston, Oklahoma, which was surprising, Kent State, and Jacksonville State. Okay, I still don't know where Kent State is.
This is depressing.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I said grab a glass. Purdue is ranked 7th in the country in this stat after their one game against Indiana State. 7th in the country at 58.3% on third down conversion. Because what happens on third down, you typically pass, right? I've never done the breakdown of, run play versus pass play, but let's face it, most people pass on third down, right? Especially third and long. Now, passing yards, we kind of touched on this already, but Notre Dame is averaging 160.5 passing yards through 2 games, 114th in the country. Dog shit. Purdue, 12th in the country after one game. They threw 335 yards against Indiana State. If we could only be so lucky. And again, with a great completion percentage. So that's stat piece number 1. Should we double down and go for number 2, or should we take a break from stats? Let's take a break. Or does anybody have an immediate reaction? Jason, are you there? I'd love to get your opinion. I'm very curious why you changed your name here in X, although maybe it's none of my business, so I'll just mind my own business. Jay just jumped on. He missed the stat piece number 1. Sorry, Jay. Jay, real quick, high level. Purdue is better than us in passing. Okay, that's the takeaway. And third down percentage, and by far. Grant, one game, Indiana State, but they are what they are, and they are what their record is. So, all right, if Jason's not going to jump on because he's doing other stuff, that's fine. Ryan wants to speak. We haven't had Ryan. We've missed Ryan in a couple weeks. But yeah, it doesn't look good for Notre Dame as far as their ability to pass the football, especially when you compare it to Purdue. Now, fortunately, our passing defense is pretty good. So
I'll jump on quick. I'll give a quick opinion, and then I'll give you guys at least some good news. But from at the stadium, it was loud. Third downs were loud. I don't know if you could tell on TV. I was ready to put the blame on Riley Leonard until I got home and rewatched the game on TV. And it's clear to me that we have a serious coaching issue.
okay,
The pregame interview.
yeah, tell me
just
about
do what
that.
your
I
coaches
actually
tell you.
didn't. I did not listen to that. I saw something on X, but then I was working, and I was just like, I'm not gonna watch this. But yeah, what's the deal with the pregame interview? I heard there was something that was concerning about that.
Yeah, so Freeman's basically said, we don't want Riley to escape and improvise. We want him to do what his coaches tell him, exactly what his coaches tell him were the words that he used. And so what we have here is
that's like caging a lion at the zoo.
Correct. That's not what you got him for. Riley's not even really a dual threat quarterback. For those of us that are like playing college football, you have your scrambler, your improviser, and your field general, right? Riley's an improviser. He ran for 13 touchdowns last year. He had 3,000 yards passing. Like, he does what the game comes to him. And I think Freeman's handcuffing him. I think that Denbrock wants to use a true dual threat quarterback like he had in Jaden Daniels, and Riley Leonard is neither of that. So you have a head coach with a different philosophy than the OC, with a quarterback that doesn't fit either of the philosophies.
Interesting.
That's my take on it. I don't think he got hurt on that spin around when I rewatched the game. I think he got hurt on the second drive when he got sacked.
Yeah, it looked like he got hurt. It looked like he got his shoulder crunched. Yeah.
Yeah, he got driven into the turf, and I think we all know if you have that pain, it doesn't matter if it's your throwing shoulder. If you have pain, it's hard to get anything on the ball. I think that explains. No, I'm not excusing him. I don't think we should have taken Riley Leonard either. I am not a Stephen Jelly guy. I'm going to disagree with he was awesome against Oregon State. Oregon State was a team of third stringers, and their head coach was gone.
Not so much on defense, but okay.
They had no head coach. Like,
that is 100% true.
And last year I was at Clemson. Estime, few big runs, and then he touched the ball twice down the stretch, middle of the third quarter to the end.
Let's not bring that up. Same thing. One of my best rants was that game.
Yeah, and then Love makes one of the most athletic runs we've ever seen right to our section. Like, he was dead in front of us. You can see us jumping up and down on the broadcast.
Right in your
And then
lap.
he touched the ball once after that.
Yeah, such bullshit.
So,
and that was brought up in the post-game show.
Okay, so who is the common denominator there? Because it was Parker last year that gave him 2 touches, and it's Denbrock this year that gave Love 1 touch. So all that being said, I don't want to talk for too long, but I'm going to tell you guys this. I think a few of us stumbled onto some info today, and I will pretty much guarantee that Angeli's starting this weekend. So you guys are going to get your wish. You're going to get your wish and see Angeli start at Purdue on Tuesday or on Saturday. And I'm worried. I don't think he's mobile enough behind that line. I would much rather see Minchie. But you guys are going to get your wish. You're going to see what he can do.
Peanut butter jelly time.
I mean, I'm psyched if this is the case. We're going to Google this.
I'm 99% sure. I would love to hear what Fravel thinks, because Fravel and I are usually on the same page and kind of hear the same things. But I have heard that they're making Purdue game plan.
Breaking news from Irish JTL.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing. I'd love to hear Fravel's thoughts. My last thing.
I love it.
Hey, I just plugged this into. Hey, Jason, I just plugged this into Reddit. I don't see that here.
Well, we'll see. I'll be there. I'll be there Saturday. We'll see it.
I'll be there. I think Dr. Abby's going to be there too. I think we need to get circle the wagons here at like some concession stand or something, because they sell beer in Ross-Ade Stadium.
They do sell beer. Yep, my wife's driving home.
Nice. Nice.
The last thing is, since Fravel's on here real quick, and then you can move to him, is Fravel and I, for the last 3 months, have been called every name in the book because we said Deuce is ultimately going to stick, and the whole fan base has done a complete 180 on him being imminent, and now Auburn looks like they're looking for somebody else because Deuce is going to stick. So I'm going to give myself my flowers on that one. I'm going to give Fravel his flowers.
Yeah, no, I've never let's let Deuce Knight make a decision for Deuce Knight. And I mean, I have my
Agreed.
opinion. I mean, but mine is, and I said this in the last show, mine is clouded. I want people that fit Notre Dame to come there. I'm kind of like Lou Holtz. Notre Dame's a special place and all this other kind of stuff. And that kind of makes some people roll their eyes. And they're just like, oh, come on. But it's like, well, look, if you're not cheering for Notre Dame, then why are you cheering for Notre Dame? Like I think that enhances your fandom. Like it can't be because you like blue jerseys and gold helmets.
Right.
I
think that's the reason he is going to stick, and that's why I thought that. I think his relationship with Marcus Freeman and his love of Notre Dame will win out, even though his family wants him to stay home in the SEC. I mean, Auburn's 2 hours from his house.
Sure.
Ole Miss is down the road. Yeah. So that's why I think he sticks. And I've thought it, and every time they put a date out there, Fravel and I have been there like, oh, well, he was supposed to flip Saturday. Now it's next Tuesday. Now it's the vernal equinox or the fall equinox. Like, he ain't going anywhere.
The fall equinox. So, that's great. I love it. That was good.
I love it. I love that.
Well, let's get Ryan on here. He can talk on the Deuce Nice thing. Maybe he knows more about the breaking news about potentially Angeli being the starter in Ross-Ade Stadium. I would let me put it this way. And we'll let Ryan talk, and I'll shut up for a minute.
Please, baby Jesus, all 8 pounds 6 ounces of you. Please.
Is that how heavy baby Jesus was? Jeez, the Virgin Mary had to push. Sorry, okay, not to get too graphic. I got 2 kids, both boys, so I'm like, okay, I know how much they both weighed, but sorry. TMI, right? I was a hand holder and a cheerleader, right? And even the doc would probably roll her eyes like, you know nothing, which is true. Ryan, let's jump on. You got your hand up. High five, man.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? How you feeling? How you feeling?
Welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. Do you have inside scoop here, just like Jason, with regards to Angeli, or did you have your hand up for some other reason?
Yeah, so I wasn't really going to talk about that, but I think On3 dropped a thing today that Riley Leonard is expected to start at Purdue today.
That's what I saw too. I saw the On3 article.
But I know he is dealing with an injury. But my thing is like,
did he get pushed down the stairs? Someone from Dillon Hall was like, "Fuck this," and it's like they tripped him. Sorry,
it was like a Tyler Buckner thing all over again.
What didn't Wimbush have like a bocce ball incident or something like that?
Something like that. But like, if you're going to play another quarterback, I love Angeli. Like it's one of those things where like I like him as a player, I like him as a person because he stuck it out. He's a Notre Dame kid. He didn't transfer. But if we're being honest with ourselves, there's been a reason why Freeman didn't feel comfortable giving him the keys to the offense this year.
Okay, and
it seems like he didn't. He hasn't trusted him. I think Freeman's had that conversation with him that hey, you're not the future at Notre Dame. Like. Sure. You are not in the plans. CJ Carr and Kenny Minchie are more in the plans than you are. I think the only reason Angeli didn't transfer this year is to get that Notre Dame degree.
Yeah, he loves Notre Dame for those same reasons why we're saying and why Jason and some other people love Notre Dame. It's like this is a special place, and it's like, look, you could leave, you could try to go somewhere else because you want to play more, but maybe you want to just stay here because you like it here.
Yeah, and my thing is, like, if you're going to go a different direction than Riley Leonard, especially if there's an assumption or a feeling that Steve is not your guy for the future, I feel like it's a waste of snaps to give those snaps to Angeli when you could give it to Minchie or Carr.
Yeah.
And see what you have in those guys, and you get those guys already starting to work on their development. I think it would make more sense for Minchie because they're not going to want to burn Carr's red shirt.
Yeah.
But either way, I think Riley Leonard's the one starting this Saturday. That's what it sounds like, which, oh, man, I don't know how long. I don't think Freeman's going to bench him. We could go 1-11, and he's not going to bench him. when you've got $2 million invested in a guy.
I don't care about that.
No, we don't. But that's the issue, is that they're going to look at, well, we paid $2 million for this guy to sit on the bench.
It's not out of his salary, you know. Like I look, that whole NIL stuff is so like down the rabbit hole that I'm so far removed from it. But for me, as a someone who's an engineer and a numbers and a data person in you know my day job here, and so I try to bring some of that, you know, analytics or what have you to this show, and to be unemotional about that sort of thing. I'm like, you know, I don't give a shit. Write it off. Okay, that's the way. That's my response. Write it off. Okay. You made a bad investment. You can either let your ego drive the decision. Like this is like oh, I bought a bunch of Bitcoin, or I bought this stock that was like really, really, really slick, you know, but and then it starts tanking. The stock starts tanking, you know, and you're trying to mine more Bitcoin, you know, and so you've set up this mining farm, you know, and all this other crap. And it's like, look, you can either stick it out and drive it down to nothing, or you can just pick up your skirt, swallow your pride and your ego, and say, you know what, this wasn't the best decision with money, and cut your losses and move on, because that's what smart people do with their money. Okay, I'm just saying now, like, what's the smart thing to do with this football program? It's like at some point you have to look at what's happening on the football field in game to say, this isn't going to win games. And that's really what's going to look. We talked about Deuce Knight earlier. Notre Dame has a losing record this year. He's going to bail. Like that's what it comes down to, right? You stuck with a quarterback that, and I'm making a hypothetical situation here. A hypothetical situation, which I don't want, by the way. I would love Riley Leonard, if he starts, to throw 3+ passing touchdowns at Ross-Ade Stadium. Nothing would give me greater pleasure than that. Okay, let me be clear. Actually, I'd prefer Angeli, but
Angeli throwing 3 touchdowns.
I would, but again, like, let me set the tone here. But go back to the point I was making about Deuce Knight. If we have a losing record and Riley Leonard maybe throws 1, but then it's still like real shady, or, you know, like just not performing well, and the coaching staff is like, well, we're committed to Riley Leonard and some of this other stuff for the reasons you just said, Ryan, you know, about, well, we've invested a lot of money. Now, he's not going to say that in the press conference and to us, you know, publicly, but yeah, if people know that's kind of what's going on in the background with this NIL, you know, stuff, and where this information actually comes from, who knows? But that being said, if we have a losing record, that is gonna, if Deuce Knight is gonna not come to Notre Dame, he's gonna go as a talented individual to a program that's on the uptick, not a program that in their third year with a lot of high hopes and a lot of high expectations preseason, or even at the beginning of the season with a huge win down in Kyle Field, and then you piss down your leg and you perform poorly against
Dane Christ it.
No, he didn't Dane Christ because no, I wouldn't say he Dane Christed.
Is the program Dane Christing?
No, because to be Dane Christing, you have to be like freaking out in the backfield and like running around like with a chicken with your head cut off, you know, and then eventually you get injured in the Tulsa game, and then Reese comes in and throws a pick.
But are the coaches doing that?
No, I don't think so. But look, I mean, and then we'll throw it back to Ryan. Like, we said this in the post game show, like with Jimmy Gallagher when he jumped on, was at one point when Riley Leonard did go down with his left shoulder injury, which is still injured, which we mentioned earlier. Part of me was kind of like, maybe this is what it would take for the coaches to finally go with a different quarterback, you know, and that's not because I want someone to be hurt. Don't get me wrong. I never want to see anyone hurt. But it's one of those things like, does their hand have to be forced to make this decision because they can't do it on their own?
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to point out, kind of where I was going with the whole Riley Leonard thing is like you had said, Faithful, and I agree. You're not getting the return on investment, so you cut your losses and you pay Riley Leonard $2 million to be the best cheerleader on the team. But the issue is we saw this not to the same extent because I think Sam Hartman at least was more competent as a passer than Riley was early on. But when Sam had that 3 interception game against Louisville, he should have been benched. He was not. When he played that way against Clemson, should have been benched. Was not. When the Ohio State game, whatever.
Yeah, Ohio State, I think, is a different animal altogether.
But the Louisville game, he should have most likely been benched. He was not because you paid the guy $1.5 million, and for Freeman for some reason has loyalty issues with guys that he brings in from the portal.
He's loyal.
And that's where my thing is, and that's where I'm like, you got to have a leash. Like, and I get it. It's week 3, and you're already having this conversation about your quarterback. But that's what you got to do if you want to win games. And this is my thing: if you stay with Riley Leonard the rest of the season, Notre Dame will do exactly what they did with Tyler Buckner and Drew Pine at quarterback in 2022. They'll go 8-4.
Yeah.
If you bench him and you go with Angeli or Minchie, I think you raise the bar of this team.
Sure. Yeah, I think that is possible.
Does Freeman have the gall to do that, to make that move?
I don't think it's that. I think it's he doesn't believe what you just said. I don't think he believes. I think he believes that his decision. It's like, and this is kind of human nature. People make a decision. They believe it's right. They believe their opinion is true, and then sometimes it's really, really hard for people to admit that they're wrong, even when evidence is staring them at the face. Like I won't bring up what I want to bring up because I don't want to be insensitive to anybody here, but it's like when something's really obvious and someone presents information to you, like it's one thing to agree with what they said, but then once you see that information, it's very apparent and logic takes over, you then have to self-reflect and admit that your opinion or your mindset or your view was wrong. And I'll speak in very high generalities here, and I'm not speaking politically. I'm speaking about something else, which I won't get into. That's a tailgate story. So maybe that is what Coach Freeman is experiencing, where he believes something, he thinks something, they've made a quote decision as a coaching staff or him or whatever. And so he wants to listen to Denbrock or whatever. And yeah, we're going to go with Riley Leonard, to come now, a few games in and say, okay, that was a wrong position and we're going to move to something else. That takes courage and honesty with yourself to do that. And maybe he's just not ready to do that. Like experienced head coaches, they're kind of numb to that sort of feeling because it's like, look, we just got to roll with this and make decisions and not be, because I mean, let's face it, and maybe this is very difficult for Marcus Freeman to do. And I'm not trying to like give him a bone. I'm trying to like, kind of look at some psychology here. He is a player's coach. Okay. He wants to have personal relationships with his players, which is admirable. Like there's tons of coaches who are quote unquote players coaches. I would say Kirby Smart is, Dabo Swinney is, Pete Carroll was, but these are players coaches. Okay. But the difference is at some point you have to separate yourself as being, buddy and say, look, we're the head coach. We're here to win football games. And there's, 90 other people on this roster that we have to pay attention to who can help us win, period. So that may be difficult for him in his growing pains to step away from players coach to want to see Riley Leonard be successful, especially after, all the injuries and his move to Notre Dame, and he wants him to be successful. And so he's trying to help him be successful, which is great. But if that's not your job as the head coach of Notre Dame, not just the coach of Riley Leonard.
Jason, jump in there. You got your hand up.
Yeah, real quick. I just wanted to say, because I said something like that the other day, he does have that, and my comment was, Freeman's really good at winning Monday through Friday. Like he says the right things. Everybody loves him because of his aura, but the time for going to hockey games and kissing babies is over. It's time to make tough decisions, hold these guys accountable.
Do that in the offseason.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, but it's time to start making those decisions. And you guys are right. If the ROI is not there, you have to be ready to cut bait, because I honestly believe he's going down with the ship if he sticks with Leonard all year and we go 8-4. He's on the hot seat. He ain't getting an extension.
It's funny.
Pete is going to turn this around. At least Pete thinks he's going to turn this around. We've seen institutional flaws for 35 years, but you can't keep losing to Marshall and Stanford and NIU at home, and just because you're a player's coach and everybody wants you're just safe, because that ain't going to cut it anymore.
Yeah.
And you have a brand new athletic director who wants to win.
Yeah. Well, and who was around in the good years of Holtz, right? No, go ahead, Ryan. Ryan's got his hand up. Very polite. He's,
I did want to say really quick on the Deuce stuff. JTL, I'm going to take a victory lap for me and JTL, because we've been trolled. We have been attacked by every single Auburn media member, Auburn fan on Twitter. Even some people in our own fan base that are like, why you guys keep having this false hope? Everybody says he's gone. It's been a thing. And now the same guy that has been pushing this narrative of Deuce flipping to Auburn for the last 6-7 weeks.
Who? Tom
is now
Loy?
saying, no. The Auburn writer, the one that started the entire rumor mill. He is now saying that he doesn't think Deuce ever will flip, and he sticks with Notre Dame. That he said that today in an article. So
Well, that's interesting.
But, yeah, I think what it also had to do a lot to do with was how Auburn played against Cal. I think Deuce was like, yeah, Notre Dame's offense is dog water, but Auburn's ain't much better. So like, I might as well just stay where I'm at.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, again, nothing recruits better than winning, right? You get, if you are successful on Saturday, you put up a W, you have, wins, quite frankly, recruits are naturally going to be attracted to that. Some people may disagree, but that is my honest opinion. In general, other than a few exceptions here and there, but in general, successful teams that have a big name and a catchy fight song tend to do well. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not about weather. Okay. Ohio State is Exhibit 1. So, all right. I think this is a good transition to stat piece 2, unless anyone else has anything they want to say. By all means, request to speak. If not, we'll move on to
one last thing,
2.
Faithful. I kind of want to get you and Red Snapper's thoughts on this. How do you guys feel? Because I'm kind of like, I've been going back and forth. I had my little like rant space yesterday night, and now I'm back to like, it's game week. We got preparation mode, Purdue preview, all that type of stuff. So my question is, how does the team get off the mat? And do we trust Freeman to get the guys mentally ready to get off the mat to go play Purdue? Because that's my biggest question. I think Notre Dame can win this game. They could go into Purdue and blow them out.
I hope so.
But my thing is, how mentally stable is this team right now? after that loss to NIU because
That's a great
when this
question.
stuff happens,
And before,
hold on, JTO. When this stuff happens, you either have two things that happen, and there's no in between. You either the guys rally, and they get off the mat, they take it on the chin, and they go forward, and they win. They go 1-0 every week. Or what you see happen is teams give up on the season, and everything falls to complete dog doo doo. So and it's never in between. So that's where I'm kind of like, do we trust Freeman with what we just saw against NIU to mentally get his team to get off the mat and to buy back into this season?
And before you answer that, Joe, and I want to, and Mike, here's what I want to ask. Here's what I want to add to that. We saw Freeman at Texas A&M. So before Texas A&M, the mantra was, and everybody I'm sure has seen Here Come the Irish on Peacock or whatever the hell that was on. His mantra has been, be the best version of yourself. The Marcus Freeman I saw lead that team out of the tunnel at Kyle Field was not the Marcus Freeman in the tunnel at NIU. So Not only does he have it in him to get them fired up, does he have it within himself to be that fired up every week, regardless if it's not Texas A&M and it is NIU or Miami of Ohio or Purdue? Or is he only going to reserve the best version of himself for Florida State, Louisville, USC, and Texas A&M? That's why I wanted to say that before you answered.
In general, and I'll throw it to my co-host Red Snapper, in general, I feel that Notre Dame plays better on the road sometimes. I just sometimes feel like when you play at home, there's a little too much jitters. And sometimes I think getting out of town after a tough loss at home is sometimes the best medicine. Like, let's shake this shit off and let's go down to West Lafayette, right? And Coach Freeman has some history with Purdue, right? So I think that is helpful in this situation. My optimistic, and I'm in general an optimistic and positive person. I may not have sounded so positive and optimistic on Saturday after the game, but in general I am, and I want to believe that Notre Dame will be successable against Purdue, because Purdue's, I mean, let's face it, they played Indiana State. I did some shocking on scary stats about they put their passing was so good and the third down conversion is so good. Yeah, they played Indiana State. Okay. Now, we just lost it, Northern Illinois, so, okay, fair enough. All I'm saying is, like, I want to believe that we pick ourselves off the mat, as Ryan's putting it. Do we do that? I think it, like, I'm not going to be all dramatic and say, oh, this team's at a crossroads this week, and it's week 3 at Purdue, and this team hates us, and we're at a crossroads, and it's like we're either on one fork in the road leads to 10-2 or 11-1, and the other one's like 8-5 or worse. Like I'm not going to get dramatic like that. But I do believe objectively. Personally, I think that what would help us down a path to 11-1, 10-2 is changing things up at quarterback. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean bench Riley Leonard. That means better play calling. If you go back to our show on Saturday, we talked about maybe he could stay, just maybe Denbrock's like coaching and play calling was shit. Like stop at the wide receiver screens, do what works with his skill set. Coach Parsegian, Lou Holtz, a lot of Notre Dame coaches in the past moved guys around and did things that were within the skill sets of their players to maximize execution on the field. Period. End of discussion. All right. Remove your filters as a coach and get shit done with what you have today. And maybe this is why the coaches are like, look, we could get to this place with Riley Leonard, but quite frankly, I feel like you got to call better plays that suit his performance. So, and I'll throw it to someone else here.
So I'm going to give mad props to Jason because you pretty much nailed where my answer was going to start. It is 100% based on the coach leads by example. I don't care what kind of coach you are, you're a player's coach. You still have head coach as your title. You are the tip of the rod, the tip of the spear. You are the lightning rod for that team, and your energy level needs to be at maximum effort every single game day. That being said, the lightning rod for this team is going to be Marcus Freeman
Ross-Ade
admitting
Stadium.
he wasn't at his best, and it's starting with difficult decisions. I was never sold on Riley Leonard. I haven't liked Riley Leonard. I never wanted.
What do you mean you
Riley
don't
Leonard.
like him?
No, I'm sorry.
You're such a hater.
Oh, no, I am definitely going to lead the Angeli squad. I am going to be praying tonight that he is starting. You know, I don't wish
I'm glad you didn't say. I thought for a second you were going to say, I'm going to pray.
Riley Leonard.
Oh, I thought. See, that's what I thought you were going to say. I think you say, I'm going to pray that someone pushes him down some stairs.
No, I don't wish ill to him. I just think we should never have made that decision. I 100% think the team, the chemistry, the environment, the culture of Notre Dame right now in that locker room is with Steve Angeli. You make that hard decision as a head coach. You take it on the chin in front of that locker room and say, I'm going to be better than I was yesterday. I'm going to bring it to you. And it starts with what is best for this team. And that is putting the quarterback that has the most camaraderie, the most rapport with every other guy in that locker room. You want to get a team galvanized, then you put that guy in. And that's how you get up off the mat. Every single guy is going to go to practice a little bit harder, knowing that Angeli has the start. You're going to get buy-in from your receivers because they know the ball's coming the way it has for the last year and a half. There's a lot of question marks get answered and a lot of rapport gets highlighted. So as a head coach, you make that tough call. And I'm going to actually hypothesize that Denbrock wants Angeli because he is a passer. And Angeli, still not terribly mobile, isn't a bad runner.
Yeah.
But you go back and you look at Jaden Daniels, he had to throw first to then use his legs. Until he threw the ball, he wasn't a threat downfield. And until that happens, Notre Dame is not going to be able to get a creative running quarterback in Denbrock's style of offense to play call. I think Riley Leonard coming in so late, not having the practice time under his belt, I think that playbook is so small that Denbrock is handcuffed.
Interesting. There's there's a lot of ways we can go with this. I don't know. Mac wants to speak. We'll let him speak here. He's got some stuff to say. Mad props to Mac here. At we gotta give him his handle here at Mac_8806. Had a wonderful rant. If you did not catch this, I've listened to the show now a couple times, just to kind of make sure I got everyone's opinion or whatever to be based coming into tonight. Go to minute 45 roughly, and that's where Mac jumps on. He steps out from a party and he gets on the phone with us, and I imagine he's like pacing down the sidewalk or on the back deck or something. And he's just throwing his hands up in the air and like talking like an Italian, like with his hand, out, just Mac, what's up? You there?
Not much. I'm here. The Angeli thing, I just wanted to kind of jump in. The only thing, and this is the only, I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate. The only thing that I would say maybe go to Carr instead of Angeli is because Angeli's been passed over for 2 years from people outside of the university, that tells you what they think of him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe.
So I mean, I'm not at practice every day. I'm not able to see it. Sure, we got a sample size against Oregon State, but there must not be confidence in Angeli. For whatever reason, I don't know, but you went and got a quarterback, basically purchased a quarterback 2 years in a row. So that's, I mean, just devil's advocate, that might mean you might go with Carr. They might think that lowly of Angeli. I don't know why.
You're saying that's indicative of the decision in the background, right? Like, well, we got Angeli, I guess, but, you know.
I think, well, they must not like him. I mean, seriously, it's a strong possibility. If someone that you wanted and you like, you wouldn't go keep looking for their replacement. That's a hypothesis. And I don't think that they may not have faith in him, because that's the only thing that I could think of for not pulling him or pulling Riley Leonard and forgetting him.
Yeah.
Especially with the coming off of 2 surgeries. So I wanted to say I watched the game, and I'm gonna tell you a couple of observations I saw.
Okay.
Riley Leonard, obviously I'm a big Niner fan. When Jimmy Garoppolo hurt his leg, he was never the same guy. He always, and his mechanics weren't the same, and he got jumpy. I think Riley Leonard is a little jumpy. He's not really looking. His feet aren't like, his footwork doesn't look good. Like, for example, Jimmy Garoppolo would always throw off his front foot and get rid of the ball real quick. I think Leonard's internal clock looks messed up, and his footwork looks bad.
He just needs to take a ball in warm-ups and, like, chuck it at Purdue Pete's face.
Well, but I wonder if he's not, and I feel bad about this, because sure, he's physically healed. I don't know if he's mentally healed. That's where I was going with it, because he looks alarmed, panicked. He does not look comfortable. And I wonder if, like, for example, for Jimmy, like, that's why I'm using Jimmy Garoppolo, or even Derek Carr. How long did it take? Those were massive injuries. How long did it take them to get better mentally? Does that make sense? And that's what I'm thinking I saw.
No, any sports psychologist would probably agree with what you're saying. You know, like, I don't think for a minute that you have injuries. You know, when Howard Cross rolls up on you, right? As you're trying to make a game-winning comeback, right? Maybe that's what's going through his mind when he's down, and, like, it's like the pressure's getting on. You know, he's having these, like, crazy flashbacks to, you know, his injury. You know, like he's like, let me put it another way. If you watch the film of Notre Dame, Northern Illinois, why would you do this again to yourself? But just
I wanted to be educated for tonight.
And I appreciate you carrying that cross there. But like you look at Riley Leonard against Northern Illinois with 30 seconds left. Granted, it's like a tall order, okay? But, or even just the drive before that. Look at his body language. Look at how he's performing. Then go back to the Duke game, Notre Dame versus Duke previous year. And let me ask you, which quarterback there? Riley Leonard at Duke versus Notre Dame in his last drive prior to injury, or Riley Leonard this last game, which one has more moxie?
Right. They're different.
And I think this is a very interesting thing to bring up, and maybe this is just like way too out in left field for people, right? You know, and this is probably the most like mental, quote unquote, this show has ever been. You know, we're typically scotching spreadsheets, and I do have another statistical piece I do want to get to kind of scare people a little bit more here about this team this year. You know, it's not meant to be whatever. I was just curious, and the result frightened me. But that being said, the Riley Leonard thing, you know, like, you have to have a quarterback with moxie. you have to have a quarterback that has confidence because he is the most influential person on your offense, period. Right? And that's the way the game is played, you know. All right, we got a bunch of people with their hands up. Mac, I don't want to cut you off. Was that the last piece there you had? But
no, I had two things.
You're in the inner cabinet now. Two things. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
But it will be pretty quick. The one thing is the defense in both games. The defensive line's getting blown off the ball, which they're losing first downs consistently. Which I don't care how great your your coverage is. They're not allowing the corners to make plays. Usually, you want your defensive line makes your corners in your backfield better because they're bringing pressure or making stops on first down. That's going to be challenging. I wonder if that's going to maybe we overhype this defense because they're not as strong up front.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some guys. I don't know if we have the depth maybe of like, say, a couple years ago, but yeah, no, continue.
Last thing, and I wanted to bring this up because you said that you disagreed with me with lowering academics and whatnot, and that's fine.
Ooh.
But I want to let's put it in a different perspective. How many kids haven't had the opportunity to have like tutors? They're a heck of an athlete, but maybe their grades aren't great because they can't afford tutors. Maybe because they come from certain backgrounds or whatnot. Didn't Jesus go with the tax collectors, go with the poor?
Okay.
Didn't he wash the feet of the poor? Why don't we give them opportunities to come here and fix their academics?
Right.
And then we can also benefit in winning it. We see it's almost kind of like coded. We're not going to lower our academic standards. Well, because I think, and you see it in the documentary,
blame Father Hesburgh for that, I guess. I don't know.
The Pittsburgh Notre Dame men, a club or whatever, the Pittsburgh Club of Notre Dame, they don't want certain students. They don't want to have the turnover chain. They don't want stuff like that.
Okay.
And also they don't want you cheering on third down because they kick people out for that. That's the problem.
Well,
That's
I agree with
the
that.
culture of the university.
It's funny
and all of that combined is is being used as a code of lowering academic standards.
Yeah,
that's the problem with the university.
Well, and maybe the university is just like it's like this sickness, like they're so out of touch with whatever, Yes. I mean, like
they're hypocritical Catholics. We're not supposed to judge. Jesus tells us
be careful
not to
when
judge.
you say that about Notre Dame.
If that's not your job to say that.
Hold on a second. I've got a degree from the place.
But we're not supposed to judge. But we're gonna judge certain people.
You can, I guess.
Well, no, you're not. You're not allowed. Only God should judge as a Catholic, right?
So let me steer it around.
You're allowed to judge with a righteous judgment.
All right, hold on a second before we jump off the rails here.
We also believe in confession.
Hold on a second,
and
Mac.
Forgiveness.
Mac, let me turn it around. You were talking about the D line here and how it looked like our O line, or you were talking about the linemen, right, in general, right, and how how they were being pushed back or whatever. Yes. I don't want to get too much into the macro stuff here that you're talking about, and no, not to be rude and dismissive here, but I'm trying to stay on point here. And not go down a rabbit hole that is not.
They were running the ball well on first down. It appeared.
So what the point I was going to make is we struggled, quite frankly, against Northern Illinois, a team with 95th ranked talent average over the last 4 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Purdue is 52. Now they're not as good as Texas A&M. Texas A&M over the last 4 years was 10.8. We're 9.3. So from just quote unquote talent alone, we should be better. Now, what I have not done is done a deep dive into said talent from transfers to recruits and our starting O-line, what their average star ranking on 24/7. Like that's way too much. Like I'll pass that buck over to Ryan here, or someone who's really into recruiting, to make that comment. But Purdue, they will get up for this game, and they're in their own house. They've had a week off, with the bye, so take that for what it is. I think it goes back to how this team responds mentally, and I don't know, like that is honestly my opinion. I don't know. I will say this: when we were down, 0-2 after the Marshall game, we did win the next game at home against Cal, and then the season was, better. Now we ended up screwing the pooch against Stanford at home. Sorry, people who are coming to the Stanford game. But that's kind of the piece I want. All right, 1T was here. He jumped off. Lynch Mobs requested to speak. Everyone, whatever. So let me get to the stat piece here unless someone else has something really eager.
William had his hand up for a second.
He
I want
did.
to see him chime in.
I'm sorry. I just really want, real quick, isn't it Coach Bedooley's responsibility to evaluate the quarterbacks and
I agree.
give them honest attention? So either
Absolutely
he's a waste of space, which I really don't want to say that about anyone, or he's not being paid attention. Because if he doesn't see what's going on prior to the game, I mean, this can't be just a game day thing where Leonard is just absolutely not there, mentally not there. Because I can't remember who said it, but he's absolutely right. The kid's does not look like he can play under this kind of pressure, this kind of thing. And I go back, and I hate to say this, it's like, what's your thoughts on is Coach G just not the right guy to be a quarterback's coach?
I'm not so sure about that.
I know he has loyalty. I know he has there's loyalty with Marcus because they've got history. Here we go again with that whole loyalty thing. But that's all I really wanted to touch on. I didn't want to go off rails.
I think it is the fact that the lack of practice time has hurt Riley Leonard, and I think the offense, Denbrock, all of them are handcuffed because he doesn't have the practice time. I 100%
So are you insinuating that Riley Leonard, even without the practice,
Riley
was not
could potentially be the best decision, but he doesn't have the knowledge of the offense.
So you don't think he put in the time to learn the playbook? Is that what you're saying?
There's a difference between knowing the playbook and executing the playbook.
Yeah.
You need practice time to execute.
And there's some of these other soft things. Yeah.
If he's questioning his footwork, and that's clearly visible in the games we've seen so far this year, if he's questioning his footwork because he mentally hasn't healed, as Mac put it, then how does that translate to executing the playbook? You can't.
These are very valid points. And then, the fact is that, 2-3 years ago, we let Notre Dame's defense wrecked a Clemson quarterback. And here we are. That kid cannot throw down for Florida State still to this day. Poor kid. And maybe that's what's happened. That our Notre Dame defense has wrecked Riley Leonard, and now he mentally and almost physically can't do the job. I don't know.
I remember when it was first announced that Riley Leonard was coming, and I forget who it was, but we had a kind of an inside man who had made this prediction to me weeks prior before it was originally announced. But it's never sat well with me, and I can't really describe it. And I think the biggest thing for me was the fact that we injured him. Like it's as simple as that. We injured him, and now we're gonna take that on. Like there's a reason. Like let me put it another way. There were two great in my high school. Grant, this is like a level down and years ago. So take it with a brick of salt. In my high school, there were two great athletes. One was our left tackle, and one was our starting wide receiver. Phenomenal athletes, both of them. Probably could have played at like D2, maybe a lower level D1. But both had really bad knee injuries. Okay, and so they had to sit for at least a year in high school. But they did come back their senior year and were able to execute and play very well with a robo knee brace. But I guarantee you that hurt their stock with recruiting and whatnot, and I don't think either of them played high level. So that being said, when you get injured, it's all about how you respond and are you able to come back,
Which goes right back to what I'm saying about Coach G. I mean, we should be reading this and saying, you know what, this is not what's best for the team.
Yeah.
So either he's being ignored, or
But
he's just not putting those inputs.
Marcus Freeman invested a lot of money, and those boosters invested a lot of money, and I think they want a return. And I think Marcus Freeman is a little bit cornered into playing.
Are you insinuating, Mac, that the Notre Dame Illuminati and the puppet masters are the ones that are like really pulling the levers of this football team?
I think there's a little pay to play, like the people who donate big money. Yeah, I mean, when has Notre Dame, other than Sam Hartman and Riley Leonard, granted those are the only 2 years that you had NIL money, but who did they throw big NIL money at? And I think when it's just like in any business.
Smart guys from the ACC. I don't know.
but if you go and you pay for something, and someone gives you money for it, they expect a return. They don't expect.
The problem with that, but I'm sorry to interrupt. But
That's okay.
The problem with the whole thinking here is that it's like to go with what you said. We banged up. It's like getting in a wreck with a Corvette, and that Corvette that other person that was driving is now damaged, and now it's going to get repaired, and you're going to buy that after it gets repaired?
Yeah.
No.
Don't worry, I'll take it into my shop and I'll chip it for you. Yeah, the thing's gonna be misfiring still. It doesn't matter.
It's a bad car. So what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And
show me the Carfax. Well, I want to know what the Carfax is on. Show me the Carfax on Riley Leonard. Right? It's not good. Not good.
But that's Freeman's decision making. That's on him because he went and asked for the checkbook. He got the check. He got him here, and I think the reason why they're not pulling him is either they really hate Angeli, or
hold on, Mac. Which is it Freeman's decision or is it the big money's decision?
Bingo! That's exactly what I was going to say. Don't sit there and say it's the money making the decision, and you want a return on investment. Marcus Freeman's not writing the check.
No.
Yeah, this is not Freeman's pockets.
It's like when you
We're writing the check. That's the problem.
Thank you, Jay.
But it's like when you go and get a free agent, right? And they're not having a season you wanted, but you got a young stud. You got to ride with the guy you wrote the check with. That's what I think is kind of happening.
Oh, come on. We're not going to the prom with the guy. I'm just telling you.
When you get a free agent and you expect him to deliver?
Yeah.
Generally, you evaluate them and you don't want to take tainted goods or, in this case,
absolutely
a damaged car.
All right, let me ask.
Why would we make the decision to start said damaged car over, and I'm going to die on this hill, other than somebody who has a bowl game win and the rapport of the locker room?
I'm not arguing.
And even the timing with the receivers, right? He's been in the program. Like Red Snapper and I saw him with our own eyeballs in the spring game, it was a few years ago.
And he looks better than Sam Hartman that game.
I don't even know if Hartman even played. I don't know. It just is. I don't know. Just the Angeli thing to me is. Look. I'll say it this way, since someone mentioned prom and this jumped into my brain. And I've had a couple scotch, so we're just gonna roll with it. If Riley Leonard looks the same and performs the same at Ross-Ade Stadium, Lord God help us, please no. But if he does, he's gonna start looking like the fat chick you took to prom. Okay, I don't want that. Okay, and we're gonna have to go and ditch our date and go to someone else. If Marcus
All right,
Freeman,
at what point do we gnaw off our arm, chew up our arm like,
so
Coyote Ugly style?
yuck. Well, that's different. Okay, that you've made some really bad decisions if you got to that point.
And I'm saying Marcus Freeman does that now and benches Riley Leonard.
See, that's the thing.
Team.
Why is
Is
it going to have to
I think
take
you're wrong.
being down against Purdue in their own house with that? I mean, because look, Purdue has caused upsets. They beat Ohio State a few years ago. I forget what year it was. But that was fun to watch. Quite frankly, to watch them destroy Ohio State. And then they lose like the next week or whatever. But like
they haven't caused upsets. They have the highest winning percentage against top 5 teams at home in the last 15 years. They've pulled 4 of them.
Well, thank God we're not ranked in the top 5. I guess I don't know.
Well, thank God, yeah.
Okay.
And what gives Notre Dame the best chance to win on Saturday?
Clearly, they think it's Riley, and that's the problem.
I don't.
I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying that that's what the coaching staff obviously feels. Otherwise, he wouldn't be still listed as number 1, QB1.
I will say this, and then I do want to move on to my next stat piece because we're over an hour and a half in here into the show, and we're just gonna try to keep it under 2 hours here. And I lost my train of thought, so we're just gonna tell everyone to be quiet, and I'm gonna do my stat piece here. Okay, we don't have any passing touchdowns thus far this year, and that bothers me, and it should bother every single Notre Dame fan. It probably makes the Notre Dame haters laugh, and certainly it's going to make the Boilermakers. They're going to be chanting Riley Leonard. I guarantee you, we will hear that. Okay. That being said, though, I wanted to look at Notre Dame, and I went back as far as time and ESPN would let me. I went all the way back to 2003. In the first 2 games of every season from this year all the way back to 2003, how many passing touchdowns did we have? Well, this year is pretty easy. It's 0. I'll just rattle these off. And this is in descending order. So from last year going all the way back into the past. Okay. Turning back the time machine. The best, by the way, was last year with Sam Hartman. We had 8. 2022, 1. 2021, Jack Cohn, 7. 1, 7, 1, 2, 7, 6, 5, 5, 2, 5, 3, 7. That 7 is Clausen's last year. 5, 0, 3, 4, 3, and 1 in 2003. There's a bunch of 3s. There's a bunch of 1s. The average.
A bunch of 7s too.
Yeah, there's a bunch of 7s. The 7s. It's funny. The only one that's an 8 is the Hartman year. 2021, Jack Cohn. 2019, Ian Books was 7. 2016, our 4-8 season, surprisingly, was 7, but we had Deshaun Kaiser. He's the man. 2009, last year with Clausen, 7 as well. So some of that makes sense, right? The average over that entire period is 3.9, almost just shy of 4 touchdowns, passing touchdowns in the first 2 games total. Now, Charlie Weiss, if I break it down by coach, and I didn't do 2002 as I don't have the first year of Ty, and why would we talk about that? But Charlie Weiss, in his 5 seasons, he averaged 3.8 touchdowns. Okay. Kelly, 4.3. Including Marcus Freeman this season, he's averaging 3. So it's less. And quite the spectrum there. 1. Oh, and that 1 is Drew Pine against Marshall, believe it or not. 0. We had 0 passing touchdowns against Ohio State 2 years ago in 2022. 1 against Marshall, and that was from Drew Pine. So 1, and then an 8, and then 0. So you talk about some volatility there in the statistics, but the average is 3. Okay.
And that speaks to quarterback controversy.
Okay. Here's the scary piece. I mentioned a 0. What year was the 0? It's 2007. 2007 is our 3-9 season. Now, I'm not coming on here to have people freak out and say that we're fucked and we're going to have a 3-9 season. Now, if that happens, shit, I will personally write a letter to Notre Dame and say, do not let this happen 2 games into the season, because this has now happened twice. Please, no, let's not let that not happen. And to be fair, there was a bunch of other problems in the 2007 season, from defense to a mass exodus of seniors to, Quinn and a bunch of people, gone. And then you had to throw Clausen in there. He's getting his face eaten off by everybody, poor guy. Anyway, so there's a lot of other problems with the 2007 season. So I kind of dismissed that there's causality to this 0-0, but I couldn't help but notice that the worst year for Notre Dame and Notre Dame's worst record in all of this is when there's 0. Now, Notre Dame's next worst record, 2016, we had 7. So the stats are kind of pointing in the opposite direction about overall record, and that's not the point of this stat piece, is saying oh, well, if you take the standard deviation times the number of passing touchdowns multiplied by this fudge factor and then you get your win percentage. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I was curious on going back in fairly recent history, the last time we had 0 passing touchdowns, and it frightened me a little bit to see that 2007 season pop up. So sorry, everybody, but I was curious. When's the last time we had 0 passing touchdowns in the first 2 games? 2007, and that was not a fun year. So
let's get Lynch Mob on after that.
He's requested to speak. I don't know if he's going to. We have a ton of new people on the space. This is really great. Appreciate everybody listening. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. Year 5 of doing this, season 5. I am Joe at faithful_Irish on X here. We've got Knox listening. We've got Erica. We've got Golden. Oh, we got Mike here. We got quite a few
Lynch
people.
Mob, go for it.
Golden Domer Z.
He might be having connection issues.
Yeah, no, he's on mute. He
there we go.
Takes a minute. He probably had to go out on the back porch or something. I don't know. If not, we're just going to roll on. All right, so Purdue plays up to Notre Dame. I wanted to have a stat piece. I did not get to this because my typical site, either the website was down or glitching, or they changed things. And so I wanted to do some sort of stat piece that the team that Purdue is all season is different from the team that Purdue plays against Notre Dame. And that is kind of the general consensus. And I wanted to put some numbers behind that with, scoring offense or something to that effect. But ran out of time tonight, and again hit some of my sources were not cooperating with my timeline. So I would have had to do it manually and go through every single game and take the average, and even then, so we're still going to live with that anticipation and that mood that Purdue plays up to Notre Dame, and in general plays up to a higher level than where they are the rest of the season in the Big Ten and whatnot. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So what does that mean? Notre Dame, obviously, I don't think is going to let their guard down when they go down to Ross-Ade. But what I will say is that Purdue can pose a challenge to Notre Dame, but maybe that's the motivation Notre Dame needs to lift themselves off the mat after, this terrible, terrible loss against Northern Illinois. Jason,
let's get some of the newbies on.
I know. Yeah.
Just real quick, Joe. I have a tailgate invite at the C lot at Purdue.
Okay.
I'm parking in the Northwest garage. So if I get there before you, I'll drop a pin. But anybody that's coming to the Purdue game, I'll drop a pin. It's Legion of the Leprechaun, if you know who they are.
No.
Tailgate. There'll be beer and food. You don't have to bring anything. Just bring yourselves, and everybody's welcome if you're going to Purdue. So DM me if you're going, and I'll drop a pin to anybody that DMs me.
I appreciate that. I am actually not familiar at all with Purdue, Ross-Ade, and I'm actually going with people. Some of them are Purdue grads, but I'd say about at least half of them are Notre Dame sympathizers, which is good.
Yeah, I'm not familiar either. My wife and I got a parking pass, but I caught the tailgate invite today, and they said they were going to have pulled pork and a few other fixins and coolers full of beer, and just to stop by and bring whoever I wanted. So if you DM me and you're going to Purdue, I'll drop a pin when I get there.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate the heads up there. Yeah, I do know. I am actually having a meeting tomorrow after my Knights of Columbus meeting, because everyone that I'm going with is a member of my council. And so we're having a post meeting at the local brewery to discuss our plans for tailgating, and who's driving and who's bringing what, and just to get ourselves organized. Kind of living on a moment here. I see.
Are you coming in Friday or Saturday, Jeff?
Oh no, it'll be Saturday. I mean, it's like less than an hour and a half drive for us.
I know. I gotta, me, I gotta drive from fucking Iowa, so it's another 5.5 hour drive or whatever it is.
How far are the universities?
They're 2 hours apart.
They're very close.
Gosh, and they don't play every year. That's
okay. That's funny, Mac. So post World War II, Notre Dame and Purdue played, I believe it's from 1949. Someone could check me on this. 1949 all the way to 2014. They played every single year. After 2014, the next time we played was 2021.
No, it's sad. Like it's a made rivalry.
Yeah. Yep. Close in proximity. And withstood the test of time for many, many years. All right, I see Anthony on here. He's been listening for a while. Appreciate that. At @ant_VR. If you want to speak and jump onto the Fighting Irish Faithful show, you can, and we will afford you to do so. If you just want to listen and stay on mute with the pink button in the lower left-hand corner, that's fine too. No problemo. You do you. Maybe it's gone too late or your phone's glitching. That happens. Red Snapper, what are your thoughts of Purdue? I know, like, you and I have seen Purdue live together. What are your thoughts?
Purdue always plays up for the competition against Notre Dame. It's always a game. And no matter where Notre Dame is, no matter where Purdue is, it's always a game. And, I think it's a built-in, natural rivalry, in-state opponent. So you're close enough to home. It's not a crazy travel. It's going to be a good game to get out of, South Bend and kick off the memory of last week. So I think it's the perfect game to have after the blunder that was last week. But you're walking into
not Kyle Field.
A Lions den. Yeah, you're walking into a Lions den. It's not going to be a friendly confine. It's going to be a rough place to play, and I would venture to say it's going to be tougher to play there than it was at Texas A&M.
Interesting. I think with Texas A&M, it was the beginning of the season, so there's all that off-season hype. You know, they've been able to think about it and, you know, pipe in music at practice and stuff. Like with Purdue, it's such a short turnaround time from last week to this week that it's like, okay, we just gotta, you know, circle the wagons the best we can and get there. For me, what's interesting about this is most of the games that I've seen Notre Dame are in Notre Dame Stadium. The only other visiting stadium I've ever been to is actually the Coliseum for our rival USC. I've seen 3 games down there, and no, two games, 94 and 98. And that's it. Like, I've never been to a away other university game, which is crazy. You know, I wanted to go to Clemson last year. That didn't happen. Maybe I dodged a bullet on that one. Wanted to go to Kyle Field 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, right? Didn't happen. Although ticket-wise, you probably could have made it happen in the last minute. But Purdue will be the first home away game for Notre Dame that another person's house that I've been to in many years, certainly as an adult, right? I am looking forward to the fact that they'll have overpriced beer for sale, so that's cool. And then the last piece is the only other I've been to a neutral site. That was the Shamrock Series versus Purdue. So I've seen Purdue, I saw them as a student and whatnot, but this is a new experience for me. Get boots on the ground at a visiting stadium. Now, whether we have a post game show when I get home, you know, to be determined. We may not do a post game show, so unless Red Snapper wants to fire up the mics here, but that's all I know.
You got to come to Palo Alto. It's actually low key. It's a great destination.
What if I don't like Stanford?
Well, no, to see Notre Dame play, but Palo Alto, it's a really nice area. There's a lot to do in the Bay Area. You're close to Carmel.
I mean, I'm familiar with the Bay Area, but I'll tell you what, if I go to the Bay Area, it's not going to be go to see Stanford. It's because I got friends out there.
Matt, next time I'm up in the Bay Area, I'm going to hit you up. We're going to have to go out and just talk.
Yeah, invite Red Snapper. He'll be more likely to.
Well, I don't live. I live more in the valley.
Away. I can do that drive.
I live in Sacramento, but so it's more the valley. But
Mac, you're closer to Palo Alto than me and Red Snapper.
Yes, that's true. But
I will make that drive just to sit down and talk shop.
Yes,
with you.
Red Snapper does not have a wife and children, so he, as far as I know, that.
I am dating somebody up in the Bay Area, so.
Oh, see, there you go.
I just Palo Alto. It's a great venue to watch football because the weather is just fantastic.
Gorgeous campus, gorgeous stadium.
Yeah.
I don't like Stanford. Stanford's weird. It's their tree. The dancing tree freaks me out. It's weird.
Berkeley's a pretty cool place too.
I would probably be more. You know, it's funny. Yeah. We saw Cal a couple years ago. So yeah. All right, I've hit the end of my page here. Anyone's going to the Purdue game, hit me up, hit Jason up. I did get a message that Dr. Abby was coming on.
Let's get the couple people that have requested to speak. I'm waiting. Go ahead and give them access.
Be bold. Just jump on. But if no one's gonna jump on, we're gonna play the outro music here.
Let's see. I've sent out the invitations to speak.
If this is it, have a good week. Be safe on Saturday. Have a fun time. You know, God bless everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
At Knox Block. You're invited to speak.
Is that my neighbor? I don't know. No, he jumped off.
He jumped off.
I see
He requested to speak,
our
and
director of
then-
marketing is here. Jason.
There he is.
The always dependable Uncle June.
Always.
Uncle June. Live from Arizona. I'd
Live
rather go to a game at ASU than Palo Alto. Sorry, Mac.
We were there last week for that Mississippi State game, and it was rotten. It was so hot.
Good. How hot?
Outside the stadium is 101, but I was on the field for a little bit. It was 118 down on the field. So,
Are you playing the zero again, living the glory days, or what?
no, I could barely walk off the field at that. I'm like, geez, this is so hot. I don't know how I did.
It's because your souls are melting like you're walking on lava.
I know. Well, it sort of felt like that, and it gave me like weird PTSD from conditioning. Like I walked down on the field, I was like, oh,
110
no.
degree heat. Let's have 2-a-days. Let's go.
Yeah, like I'm gonna. Where's the vomit can? Like I need that ASAP.
Oh my gosh.
A really good show. I like the conversation. The one thing two things very quickly. The first one is I think the solution to what's happening is on the roster now. I think it's a different quarterback and a little more reliance on the run game. That's part of it, but I think the part we don't know if it's going to step up. I think this team is missing player leaders.
Yeah, I am waiting for that to offset
huge.
some of this other nonsense.
Because if and I loved Marcus barking at the players before the game. I love that. But where's the player to do that right now? Where's the guy who's going to step up and say, hey, like this is on our shoulders as much as it is on theirs, whether that's true or not, but let's take accountability. Let's get after it. Especially on offense. There's not, and Riley's older, but he's not been there. And the offensive line has, whatever. It's like Mitchell Evans is there, but he's not playing a lot. I don't think there's a dude on the field offensively who you look to and say that's the guy to look at, like a Joe Alt.
Yeah.
Say, all right, we're looking at you in the eye, bleed us.
One thing I thought that was revealing, Uncle June, is the fact that
all the captains are defense,
except Riley Leonard,
that's kind of glaringly obvious.
Well, and that's kind of what's troubling. It's like, well, wait a second, this is your captain, and he's just not performing. So then so I had a high level macro kind of discussion. I think on Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. It's like, this is your captain. So there's two types of captains in general. There's the pump you up, guy swinging the towel, guy slapping people upside the head, and the Tim Tebow kind of rile you up kind of guy. Then
Sam Hartman was that guy.
Yeah, I think so. And then you have the guy who's kind of leading by example, is kind of the silent, quiet leader type, and he just goes out there and executes, and he's a model of behavior and precision and whatnot for other people. And so those are the two types of leaders in general that can be made captains. And I'm not seeing Riley Leonard fall into either bucket.
I agree with you.
That bothers me. It's like, well, why are you a captain? Like, just because we paid you a bunch of NIL, we bought your C? Like, I don't
because he's the quarterback and because the offensive line is all brand new.
Yeah, and there's value to
your running back room and your receiver core are really young. So you don't have anybody who is an established leader on the offense.
Right, and so, like, I think as time goes on, that's earned, like Ian Book wasn't a captain in 2018, but eventually he was, as time went on. Like Wimbush never was. I don't even think in 2016 Deshaun Kaiser was listed as a captain, right? So I agree with you that having your quarterback be one of your captains is huge, but at the same time, like, there has to be some dividends that pay out from that, right?
Well, you know what? Dirk Cutter used to say that his captain was always his quarterback, but whoever was the starting quarterback was the captain. Meaning that, my quarterback will be the captain, but I'm not going to be beholden to him because he has to see, which was sort of my fear with Riley. Halfway through the game, I thought, pulling him isn't just sort of like, hey, he had a bad game. You're admitting our evaluation of him was wrong. Him becoming a captain was wrong. Our decision to start him over whoever else left on the roster may have been ill-decided, and that's hard.
Yeah.
But that's sort of what you have to do. And, I think it was, if you get a tinfoil hat on and we didn't hear anything about, obviously we saw Riley being uncomfortable with that throwing shoulder, or that non-throwing shoulder, but we didn't hear anything about it. Well, they name him on the depth chart. There is no talk about his shoulder, right?
Yeah.
But there's an uproar, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, he's got a torn labrum, so we'll see how that goes. But we expect him to play. Well, now there's a report that says it's unknown if he'll play, and Mike Denbrock said he hasn't shown one way or the other if he can run. Well, if he can't run, Uncle Gene might as well play quarterback.
Yeah.
And part of that, too, is a little bit of gamesmanship, not showing your cards before Saturday. So it's making Purdue question, okay, who's the starting quarterback? Is it Angela?
Yeah, maybe what they're saying publicly is different from what they're going to roll out,
and that makes
game
perfect
time
sense.
decision.
Keeping cards close to your chest, that part I understand. But at the same time, I don't care about what comes out publicly. I want the team to know. I want a week of practice. I want them, all pistons firing, every gun pointed in the same direction. And you can't do that unless you galvanize that team. And the only way that happens is you make that change now, not mid-game. You make that call now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think there must have been division because, I didn't mind bringing in Leonard, but I was not like, if we don't, we're screwed.
Right.
There's dudes in there who have bled and sweat with Angeli for 3 years, or 2.5 years.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's their boy, man. And
exactly.
So you bring in Riley, and so there's going to be a natural, because to choose one means you have to sort of leave the other behind you, right? And there's probably guys in that roster like, no way, I came in with this guy. He's a worker. He's a dog. I don't want to just say no, So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. I think we're gonna wind things down
because how's it going to get any better than that? Let's be real.
It can't get any worse than last week. It can't get any worse than last week. So
yeah, I'd like to say farewell to the hell that we've gone through since Saturday, and we're gonna roll out with some melancholy. Try to fire some people up here. I know it's a little loud here, but I'll turn that down a skosh. But yeah, I'm done with the negativity. Not like negativity like people are being negative. I think we've been realistic, but there's a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and I want to get that out. And I want us to kick the shit out of Purdue. I want to be able to walk in on Monday with a shit-eating grin and a box of fucking donuts and go up to every single Purdue grad I know at work and say, hey, you want a donut? And I want them all to have like green shamrock icing and shit on them. I want it to look like fucking St. Patrick's Day donuts. I'm dead serious about that. I will find green icing. We'll put them on my own donuts. I don't hate Purdue. Like, I kind of like them, like respect them, whatever. But I didn't go there, and like I'm done with our team looking inept and stupid. And so, if it's Riley that's out there, I hope he turns it around. I hope we call good plays, and I hope we execute. If it's not him, and if it's Angeli or Carr or Minchie or whatever else, roll that shit out, and we'll kick ass. But we're leaving the mediocrity of losing to teams we have no business losing to. I'm done with that shit. No more. No more. Okay? Let's go out there and beat teams we're supposed to beat, and Purdue is one of those teams we should go out and beat. And that's it. Mic drop, pencil drop. Farewell,
not gonna
hell.
stop me. Not gonna stop me from grabbing my rosary there tonight.
That's right. Well, you should be praying the rosary every day anyway. So that's what Our Lady of Fatima told us. All right. Have a good one. Go Irish. Beat Boilermakers.